The company retreat had been planned for months, a much-needed break from the daily grind. It wasn't just about work, it was about bonding, relaxing, and for many of us, proving to our girlfriends that we actually did more than just sit in an office all day. The destination was a remote mountain lodge, nestled deep in a dense forest, far from civilization. It was supposed to be an escape, a perfect mix of adventure and leisure. We arrived on a Friday afternoon, excitement buzzing in the air as we stepped out of our vehicles and took in the breathtaking scenery. Towering pine trees surrounded the property, their scent fresh and invigorating. The lodge itself was massive, built from thick logs with a rustic charm that felt straight out of a postcard. A large stone fire pit sat in the center of an open clearing, its charred remains promising warm nights and shared stories. After unpacking, we gathered for the first event, a guided hike through the forest. The trail was marked, but the deeper we went, the more isolated it felt. The further we walked, the quieter everything became, as if the forest itself was listening. At one point, we came across an old wooden sign nailed to a tree. The letters were faded, but we could still make them out. "No trespassing, our guide." An older man with a weathered face glanced at it and simply shook his head. "Just an old warning. Stick to the trail and you'll be fine," he muttered. But we didn't stick to the trail. A few of us, driven by curiosity and perhaps a little arrogance, decided to wander off, breaking into a smaller group. It wasn't long before we stumbled upon something unexpected, an old crumbling cabin hidden between the trees. The wood was rotting, the windows shattered, and the door barely hanging on its hinges. It looked like no one had lived there in decades. Despite the eerie vibe, we pushed forward. Inside, the air was thick with dust, the floor littered with broken furniture and scattered papers. In one corner, we found an old diary, its pages yellowed and brittle. The writing inside was frantic, almost unreadable, but one entry stood out. "They are watching me. They don't like visitors. I shouldn't have come here." A chill ran down my spine as I read the words aloud. Someone laughed nervously, saying it was probably an old prank. But something about the place didn't sit right. We left soon after, uneasy but unwilling to admit we were actually scared. That night, we gathered around the fire, trying to shake off the feeling with whiskey and laughter. Flames flickered, casting long shadows on the trees surrounding us. At first, everything felt normal. The tension from earlier faded as we told stories and roasted marshmallows. Then we heard it, a rustling in the trees, slow, deliberate footsteps, too heavy to be an animal, too controlled to be random. The laughter died down, replaced by silence as we strained our ears. "Probably a deer," someone muttered. Then we heard the whisper. It was faint, carried by the wind, almost blending into the crackling fire. "Go back." The words sent a shiver down my spine. I turned to the others, expecting someone to admit they were messing with us. But their faces were pale, eyes wide with the same fear gripping my chest. Then the footsteps started again. Closer this time, circling us. We grabbed flashlights and shone them into the trees. Nothing, just endless darkness and towering trunks. The feeling of being watched became unbearable, the silence pressing down on us like a weight. No one slept that night. By morning, our team leader made the call. The retreat was ending early. No explanations, no discussions, just a quiet, mutual understanding that something was wrong with this place. We packed in record time and left, the weight on our shoulders lifting the further we drove from that forest. When we got back, our girlfriends were eager to hear about the epic retreat we had been so excited for. We told them everything, expecting laughter or teasing. Instead, their faces drained of color. One of them pulled up an old news article from years ago. A group of campers had gone missing in that same forest. Their campsite had been found abandoned, their belongings untouched, but they were never seen again. No one talks about that retreat anymore, but sometimes, in the dead of night, I still hear the whisper, "Go back."